With a slide rule ball with his right foot right across the face of the goal. Phil Foden applied a really crisp finish into the roof of the net. Calvin Phillips hit the bar. Bristol City have had one or two encouraging moments. You don't feel as though this game is over at 1-0, but the Blues are in front at Ashton Gate. Well, let's go back to the studio where we can join Natalie, who is with Esme and Nedum.
Thank you to Alistair Mann and Michael Brown there for the first half commentary. Welcome back to Match Day Live. I'm still joined by Esme Morgan and Nedum Onuoha. City leading Bristol City 1-0 at the break in the fifth round of the FA Cup. A great start, Esme, but Bristol City staying in the game. Have you got any nerves?
No, I think we've controlled it for enough of the game and had enough good opportunities that I think come the second half, City will kind of start to settle down and just control it and see it out, maybe add another couple of goals. But as you say, Bristol have had flashes. They've had moments where they've got in behind. It was a bit of debate, but I think they should potentially have had a penalty with Rico Lewis's challenge in the box. And I think they've looked good at times. They've played some really nice football. They've taken advantage of when the game's opened up and City have been quite expansive. So, yeah, they've impressed me, to be honest.
It's definitely not a penalty, though, but we don't have to worry about it. No, I'm joking. I think for me, in terms of that game, having seen Bristol in the past and so on, this is them performing at their absolute best and they're competing with City. But then I ask you the question, how many saves has Ortega had to make? And I can't think of any off the top of my head. So it just shows that overall they're having flashes, but City are getting enough bodies back in there. Because even if, you know, they're getting shots blocked, at least there are people there to do just that. But then in the end, there was that little bit of quality which made a big difference. The 1-2 from Mahrez and then the finish from Foden at the back post, fantastic. And I think for me, I believe that City will score again, and I don't know if Bristol have got multiple goals within them, because for City, a slight improvement in terms of the performance, I think brings a big change in this game. So that's why I tend not to be the most confident City fan ever, but I am cautiously optimistic about the second half because I know that they can do better. I think a few people slipped over, there were a few mistakes here and there, but overall, in terms of playing a game away from home, because that's a big stadium as well, that's 25,000-30,000 fans. They're managing the moment pretty well and just controlling the game when they need to with the players that they have out there. We're very good at doing just that.
So the game started pretty quickly. Calvin Phillips hit the bar early on. We came out the traps pretty well, eh?
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that fly into him, just with some of the narrative that's been around him recently. I think if that would have gone in, then, yeah, it probably would have just been a huge weight lifted off his shoulders, and you saw a little bit of frustration with the second shot that he had that he sliced. But I think he's done well. He's played some really nice passes on the transition, straight through to Alvarez, sort of really decisive and sharp, that have set us off on the attack, and I've really liked what I've seen from him. He sort of looks really relaxed and comfortable and confident, and it would be nice if one of those long shots ended up in the back of the net.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't have to wait too long for the City goal, though. I loved it, Nedum. A very typical, classic City goal that I love. Kevin De Bruyne to Riyad Mahrez to Phil Foden.
Yeah, it was not too bad at all, actually. So when Mahrez got the ball out on the right wing, I think this is something that City are really good at, and it's making movements just in your blind side. You know, if you get caught watching the ball for a single second, you will be punished. So I think he played the ball to De Bruyne, but then he doesn't just stand there. He makes a run in behind at that point. And Kevin's obviously the guy that can find that pass. He finds the pass. And then with Riyad, he knows the right area to put the ball into and who's at the back post free, because the other team, again, have just lost track of where the bodies are. So the cross comes in, and it's a great first-time finish. But I think this is the thing with City. They can score goals like that, which look really easy, but it will take a while for the opposition to even realise what's happened. Like I think I said whilst we were watching it, they will have no idea what's gone on for that goal until they see it back afterwards. Whereas usually you've got a sense of how something's come to be, because they would have all thought they were in the right positions. But it's the difference in quality you come up against sometimes, because they won't concede goals like that in the Championship. In fact, most teams probably wouldn't. But when it's against Man City, that could be the standard essentially.
Yeah, and the importance of silencing the crowd as well. We mentioned that, the coming out the traps, the quick first goal. Do you think City did that, silenced the crowd?
I think they did initially, but then Bristol had a good opportunity running through where Ruben Diaz made the block sort of straight after, which then reinvigorated the atmosphere and gave them a little bit more hype and momentum. And I think City have just got to work throughout the second half to encourage that to keep quiet, because I think as you get into the latter stages and if the game is still hanging at 1-0, then all of a sudden the crowd can sort of get behind the team and smell that there's an opportunity there, whereas if City come out from the second half and maybe knock a quick second goal, and I think then you might see it fall flat and they'd be able to control the game a bit more easily.
So let's talk about the penalty then. Do you have different...
What penalty are you talking about now?
The penalty claim on Rico Lewis. Are we differing opinions?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think anything's really happened. I think he's fallen over, but I'm ready to be convinced otherwise.
No, I mean, it was a tangle of legs, and we did say if that was me defending and a striker went down, I'd be telling them to get right up.
It's interesting.
But if it was someone taking down Lauren Hemp, I'd be screaming at the ref going penalties. So I just want the best of both worlds, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
OK. Right.
You've seen them given. It's harsh, but you've seen them given. I was worried when it happened in the moment.
I don't know where you're coming from. I think you're wrong.
Right.
You're wrong about that. No, I don't know. I think it's a fair point.
Okay.
I think this is one of those benefits where there's no VAR as well.
Yeah.
You know, because for me personally, I don't think it's a penalty.
OK.
But say further down the road now in this game, if the referee makes a mistake and there's no VAR, then there's no way to turn it around. You know what I mean? But in this instance, I think it was the right decision. But maybe if they look back in the video, you probably could have seen something that perhaps wasn't that big a deal in real time. But we'll take the fact.
And it was then the fact that we got given a free kick like 2 seconds later for the same foul, and I thought the crowd are going to be going ballistic. Yeah.
But this is just football, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, the way it goes.
Yeah, I'd like to see it again. I'm sitting on the fence as the undecided.
You don't want to see it again. You don't want to see it again. You do not want to see it again.
You're only saying that because she might side with me.
Listen, side all you want, but the referee made that call, so. I'm the right one.
Yeah, I mean,
the ref's always right.
Always right.
I'm absolutely happy with the call, by the way. I'm absolutely
fine.
No complaints. I just felt a lot of relief, to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. Talk about some players that have stood out in that first half. I think Ruben Diaz looks as solid as ever, Nedum.
Yeah, Ruben Diaz is doing well. He's organising the setup. Phil Foden's looking good. Who else could I say? I think Calvin Phillips has been doing well in there. There've not been a ton of outstanding performances, but people are just sort of knitting things together, which I think is important. I think one or two players have probably been a bit quiet, one or two have fallen over and stuff, but again, it's fine. I just feel like in the second half, a slight improvement has a huge impact. And given the fact that these players, they won't necessarily just need a manager to tell them to do better. I think they've got their own sort of personal pride and understanding as well. I think the second half will be, in my opinion, a different affair, and I hope I'm not wrong. I'm wrong 51% of the time, but hopefully this isn't the 49, and I think everything will be all right.
We very much hope you're not wrong. Who's standing out for you, Esme?
I think reiterating Phil Foden, for me, some of his touches when he brought down that long crossfield ball, and it was like 3 touches in one, but it was just lovely to watch. I think he's looked really, really sharp, and getting on the score sheet is obviously a huge positive for him. I think it was a really nice move between the 3 of them, De Bruyne and Mahrez, and then combining to set up Foden. But I'd say he's been the standout for me for sure.
Can one of you, or do it together,
Uh-oh.
explain to me tactically what we're doing with Foden, Silva and Lewis?
I think it's easy to talk about Rico. He's right back defensively and he's coming into midfield in terms of attack. Phil is mostly off the left-hand side. Bernardo is just an incredible footballer. I just love to see him out there. And that's kind of what...
Phil and Bernardo have rotated a little bit, just in terms of Phil coming inside off the line to kind of come alongside Alvarez, and then Bernardo's going higher to provide the width, and it just gives the fullback a little bit of a problem, because he'll see Phil coming across him onto the inside and he think, should I go with him or do I pass him on? But wait, my centre-back's already looking after Alvarez, so it just causes a bit of a problem for the defenders when they have that sort of rotation, and then no one knows how to deal with Bernardo, whether the winger or midfielder comes out and marks him, or, as I say, they communicate and pass on, so just causes a little bit of unrest in the defensive setup.
Do you prefer Bernardo when he's playing higher or when he's playing a bit deeper?
It's so hard to say. He's just brilliant wherever. I absolutely love Bernardo to bits. I think he's tenacious enough and works so hard that even when he's deep in midfield, you see him popping up in attacking areas anyway. And I do think he has the most impact when he's in a deeper role and can kind of control the flow of the game. But equally, stick him out on the right wing and he'll create something because he's just got glue on his feet when he's dribbling.
I'm quite happy to admit I can't keep up with where they all play. I spend too much of the game thinking, who's where now? So I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for sending in your WhatsApp questions. Some really great questions this evening. Going to whiz through a few of them now, and then if we have time, we'll do some more at full time as well. So to start off with, Sean says, how important is a big win tonight, and he's put big in caps, to resetting City's winning mentality?
Is that Sean right, Phillips, or is that Sean go to the centre?
It's an SEAN, actually.
I think, to be honest, that sounds like he's kind of projecting. I think he wants to see a big win for his own confidence in terms of what City are. Because the way that I see it, City, contrary to belief, contrary to popular opinion, actually, in the last 6 games, every so often I look at a Premier League form table and put it alongside the Premier League table, and City were top of the form table. But you wouldn't believe that, would you, according to the noise that's been made around, say, the way the season's gone? You wouldn't believe that, would you? City are top of the form table. They're in the last 6 games. It's not like, I think they're on 13 points. Then the next team was actually Brentford on 12. And then it's like Arsenal on 11 or whatever. So,
but United would tell us that they were the best team right now.
On the last 6 games, Man City.
Tell you all sorts.
Exactly. So the mentality about how well City are doing or not isn't necessarily true to how it sounds. And the players themselves have been in the situation before where they need to go and just start winning games to try and achieve something. And they're very, very good at that. History shows that. And I think with the amount of players who've been there and done it before, I think this game itself, if they could win it 10-0, they could win it 1-0. But the fact is, it's a game which they've won because it still just grants you a passage to the next round of the Cup anyway. And I think they're very aware of that and understand the importance of just going through the process to get yourself to the end of the season where the last game you play is to play for something. And I think that pretty much falls in line, in my opinion.
I think that's the thing. We're so used to seeing City go on 100% winning runs from about Christmas through to the end of the season that all of a sudden a draw against Forest and a draw against Leipzig seems like this huge travesty, when in reality I think City have shown really, really good flashes of how they can play at their very best. And yeah, I don't think it's a sort of doom and gloom, oh God, are we going to win nothing? That is sort of being projected, I feel like, in the media or maybe on social media. I think City are in a good place, and come the end of the season, we'll probably look back and think, God, what was all that hysteria back in February?
I really, really hope so. Just a bit of news for you. We don't know anything for definite yet, but we do know that Ederson is out on the pitch and he is warming up, which obviously is unusual for a goalkeeper to be warming up at half-time. If there is an Ortega injury, if it looks like Ederson is coming on, we will tell you as soon as we know, or Alistair Mann will let you know immediately. But Ederson is out on the pitch and he is warming up. Next question has come from Grace. Hi, Grace. We know you're a big Matchday Live fan. Good evening. Esme, who inspired you to play football?
It's a great question. I honestly don't ever remember first kicking a ball for the first time. As long as I can think back, I always have. Just going on walks with the family through the woods. My dad would always just be kicking a ball in front of me for me to toddle after. And I always just used to play in the playground at school. So I suppose I was just inspired by my friends, because every break time, every lunchtime after school, I'd just be always out on the school field with my mates just playing football. And I had some amazing coaches when I was younger. Being the only girl really playing in the league that we were in, my coaches were so supportive and just making that seem so normal to me. And all of the boys just always really looked out for me. If there were any funny comments from opposition, everyone would kind of stick up and just make it seem that that was how it should be. And yeah, I just absolutely love playing football with all my mates.
I love that. I absolutely love that story. I've never heard you sort of say that before. And I guess, yeah, if you're good enough to play, then they're going to accept you.
Well, exactly. Often a lot of the noise would be before the game, and when I came in with a crunching tackle on someone's son, they'd back down pretty quickly.
Love that. Love that. Great question, as always, Grace. A question is coming from Max to either of you. Who do you think our best youth player is?
I think you have to be a specialist in this one. You see them on a day-to-day basis now.
Yeah, we come across a lot of them. I think when I've seen the EDS matches, sort of reiterating what Ali said earlier, Carlos Borges, I think, is such an exciting player. He's so pacey and always seems to create chances from the wing. But we've got so much talent. It's scary, actually. Sometimes we're on a pitch in between the EDS and the 18s, so you'll sometimes be training, and probably should be paying a bit more attention to what we're doing, but in between drills I'll kind of drift off and watch what they're doing, and you can just see sort of little clones of first-team players. You'll look and think, God, he moves like David Silva or whoever else, and yeah, it's frightening really seeing how alike they are, not only in the style of play but even just individuals. And it's obvious that we've got such a kind of profile of player that we look for, but it's an exciting prospect for me as a fan seeing that coming through.
Love that insight. That is the insight you get on Match Day Live. Thank you so much, Esme. Thank you, Nedum. Right, the players are back out. We will be back here at full time, where hopefully we'll be talking about City progressing to the next round of the FA Cup. I'll also try and get through more of your questions. We're going to go over to Alistair Mann and Michael Brown, and if there is any update on Ortega and Edison, they will be the first